There are an insane amount of ways to farm legendary gear in Fallout 76. You have events that could drop them as rewards, you have the raid, you have legendary enemies, and with the new fishing update, we got Linda Lee. But I've always wondered, how effective is Linda Lee for farming actual legendaries? Well, I spent over 1,000 fish bits in a single sitting, so you don't have to. So let's see if Linda Lee is worth farming. If you're a new player or you just have no idea who or what Linda Lee is, well, don't worry. Linda Lee was introduced in the Gone Fission update of Fallout 76, and she's a giant hermit crab who's taken a boat as her shell. But obviously, there's more to Linda Lee than we originally see. You could feed Linda Lee fish bits, particularly you could feed her 25 fish bits for a random legendary piece of gear. It could be any number of legendaries. It doesn't matter. You could do it an infinite number of times per day as long as you have the fish bits to do it. And obviously you get fish bits by just catching fish, going over to the crafting station, and then just crafting that fish into fish bits. Different fish give you different amounts of fish bits, but again, you could do this an infinite amount of times per day as long as you have the fish bits, and the random legendaries can be literally any category. It could be melee, ranged, armor, doesn't matter. We're going to go over that. It could even be power armor, and it could be 1, 2, or 3 star. It does not matter. You just can't get 4 stars from Linda Lee yet. Maybe they'll add that in a future update. Probably not, because that would be a little too easy. But anyway, we're about to go over the stats on what the actual chances is of pulling a 3-star or a 2-star legendary from Linda Lee. Now that we know how Linda Lee works and what we can get as a reward, what are the chances for getting each specific category of legendary? And before we get into it, big shout out to Duchess Flames for data mining this info. Check the description for a link to their Linda Lee article. But as you could see on screen, the drop rate for each star doesn't really matter, which is kind of weird because everyone thought that it kind of does for a while, but as we could see here, it really doesn't. The only thing that changes your drop rate is what category of gear you want to drop. So for example, all melee weapons 1 to 3 star, you'll have an 8.33% chance to get. That's just the melee category. Every category will be different. But like I said, on screen, you could see that the melee weapons, you have the 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star. They all have an 8.33% drop chance. The ranged weapons, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, all have a 8.33% drop chance as well. And then the body armor has a 12.5 for 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star, doesn't matter. And then power armor is coming in with the lowest percent drop chance, and that's going to be 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star, all at 4.17%. So power armor definitely the lowest to get a drop, but you can get any power armor as long as you have it unlocked. So if you have the Union power armor unlocked, you could get Union. T65, you can get T65, and then same thing for melee and range. Alright, so keep those stats in mind as we are getting into how many legendaries we actually got, and if Linda Lee is worth farming. So like I said, we spent over 1,000 fish bits. Specifically, we spent 1,050 fish bits for a total of 42 legendaries. And truthfully, it really didn't take me much time to farm up all of the fish. I didn't do it in one sitting, obviously. Personally, I just completed the fishing challenges on my main character, transferred all of the fish over to my mule, and then I just waited until I was ready to cash in, because all of the fish that you catch, they don't expire unless you turn them into fish bits. So if you have a mule character, I would suggest just throwing it onto that character and just saving up all of your fish bits until you have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. And then whenever you start a new character or anything like that, you could get a bunch of legendaries super easily without having to run the raids or without having to do anything of that. And then you could just transfer all of the fish over to them. Boom, cash them all into Linda Lee. But in terms of legendaries, we got 15 1-star legendaries, 13 2-star legendaries, and 14 3-star legendaries. So not bad. We actually got more 3-star legendaries than we did 2 stars. However, the 1-star legendaries was the most. That could be beneficial if you're only looking for bloodied. However, if you're looking for all of the special boosting effects, you know, you're going to have to go after the 3-star or whatever. So you're going to have a little bit of a harder time to get those. But, you know, it's it's not too bad. And as the drop rates would suggest, the most common type of gear I got was the body armor. I got a bunch of armor. Then the highest second was ranged weapons. I got a lot of nice ranged weapons. And then keep in mind, I also just scrapped all of these. I didn't really look at any of the weapons to see if I should keep any of them or not, just because I'm going after some legendary effects on my ghoul character, and I wanted to see if we were getting lucky or not. But then the third highest was melee, and then the fourth, obviously, just like the drop rates would suggest, would be the power armor. But I did get a couple pieces. I think I got like 3, 4, somewhere around there, and the drop rate was 4.17%, so it, seems like a little bit higher, but maybe I just got lucky. So we got a total of 42 legendaries, 15 1-star, 13 2-stars, 14 3-stars. The highest type of gear that I got, I guess you could say, was the body armor, then ranged, melee, and then obviously the power armor is going to be the last. However, though, RNG, it could be whatever. The melee weapons and the ranged weapons have the same drop rates, and then the power armor has the lowest drop rate, and the body armor has the highest drop rate. And again, it can drop any piece of that. Like, it could drop any, if you have a unique piece of armor unlocked and craftable, it can drop that. So if you have the T65, it could drop all gold plan weapons, all gold plan pieces of armor, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it doesn't matter. If you have Union, you could get the Union. If you have unique melee weapons, you could get that too. So it's a pretty good farm, I would say. But not too bad if you're looking for 3-star mods or 2-star mods. You have a pretty solid chance to get whatever mods you're looking for. Again, the star count doesn't really play a huge factor in the drop chance. It's more of what category of legendary gear you're hunting after. So please just keep that in mind when you're going through. If you're looking for 3 stars, or if you're just looking for a bunch of random legendaries, this is a decent way to do it. However, you just need, to prepare and catch a bunch of fish. So I would suggest just pushing it all off to a mule, like I said previously, until you have enough fish for 10,000 fish bits or whatever, and then you could just stockpile all the legendary weapons on a mule, and then you could just do it that way passively, because you're going to be doing the daily fishing quest anyway, or you would have caught a bunch of fish for going through all of the fishing challenges if you're trying to 100% the game. So just do yourself a favor and save all of those fish. And then, unfortunately, out of all of the 42 legendaries on this ghoul character, I didn't learn a single legendary effect crafting plan, or even get a legendary mod box to drop, but you can 100% get them to drop. I have previously before, just when I was not recording, and also I believe I did it on live stream when we were testing out Linda Lee in previous endeavor, if you want to say. But those drop rates are 1%, so it's pretty difficult, but you'll just have to have RNG on your side. Still a great way for lower levels to get gear without having to, event jump or really take on any combat. Like I said, you could just throw all the fish onto a mule character and then wait until you're ready to cash in, and then whenever you need legendaries or whenever you need legendary mods on a spare character, you have a bunch of them stockpiled without having to run raids or without having to constantly transfer over legendary gear. You could just do it with fish. Now, is Linda Lee worth farming? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? Do the nice legendaries outweigh the time of having to farm off all of those fish bits? Like I mentioned, Linda Lee is a great way for super lower level players who want to pick up some extra legendary gear, so I would definitely spend a few hours knocking out most of the fishing challenges. Like, if you want to turn those fishing challenges into a positive, this is probably the best way to do it. Completing the fishing challenges should get you well over 1,000 fish bits, so why not turn them into a few free legendaries? Plus, no matter the level, it'll increase your chances of getting those extremely hard to get legendary effect plans and those pesky mod boxes. So why would you not want to turn them into some free legendaries? Again, I suggest just saving up all of your actual fish because it's non-perishable for some odd reason, and then just throw them onto a mule. Then when you're ready and when you have enough fish to turn it into 10,000, 1,000, 5,000, 2,000, however many fish bits you want to or need to, you do, and then you just spend it on getting the legendaries from Linda Lee. However, if you're a higher level player, there are much better ways to get legendary gear, like the raids or even expeditions, so just keep this in mind when watching this video. But again, even if you're a higher level player, I would just like to throw, all the fish you catch, you could still save them on a mule and stash it up, and then just, have it kind of as a passive legendary generator, because I know most of you are probably dumping out your fish and everything like that every single time, but save them up for a little bit. And because you're going to be doing, if you're like me, you're going to want to complete all of the challenges in the game, or at least all of the fishing challenges. So you're going to have to do the daily fishing challenge, 50 times in a row. Or I believe the last one is 28, and the one before that's 14. And then, you know what I mean? So you're going to have to do it like 30 times in a row. You might as well save up all of those fish. And then same thing with hunting down the glowing fish or the axolotls. You might as well just save all of those fish, put it onto a mule, and then have a little passive legendary generator. Personally, I'm not farming Linda every day. I am, however, just stockpiling fish on my mule. So personally, what I do on my main character or my ghoul character, whatever one I'm working on, I complete the fishing challenge every single day. Then I take those fish and I store them in my stash until my stash is getting a little full. Then in my monthly mule transfer, I transfer everything over to my mule character, including all of the fish. And then whenever I'm bored, I simply just count up as many fish bit as I need, and then boom, there I go. They don't expire and they barely weigh anything. I still have characters that need some legendary crafting plans, so this is just an extra way to get this done. Again, I need just some specific plans on my my ghoul character and still on my main character too. So it's just, kind of just any way that you could increase those odds. Why not throw it in there? Like I said, I'm gonna be doing the daily fishing challenge or the daily fishing quest every single day for at least 28 days in a row. So why not turn those fish into legendaries? It's a pretty useful thing, or useless thing beside that. But I would say Linda is 100% worth farming in a passive sense. Just save up all your fish and do one big turn in like I did in this video. Linda though is, however, not a very efficient legendary farm. Like I said, much better ways to farm legendaries, even if you're just hopping from event to event to event, or meat weeks going on, or raids, or you could do expeditions, or even daily ops, you know what I mean? So there are significantly better ways to get legendaries a lot faster. This is just a passive way of doing it that not many people are really thinking of, and not many other people are really talking about. So just save up your damn fish, put them onto a mule, and then send them off whenever you need to get some extra legendaries. Well, ladies and gents, we've made it to the end of another Fallout 76 video. I hope you found it useful. Now, again, Linda isn't a game changer at all for really any players, lower level or higher level. There are much better ways of leveling up, or getting legendaries, or getting better gear, or even going after unique weapons. It's just a lot easier and better ways, but most people will at least participate in the fishing challenges, so you might as well get a few legendaries out of it, for your troubles. Plus, if you're super low level, you could hopefully get some gear that'll help you through most of the game's content. So I would say Linda is okay for legendaries. I would rather do this than daily ops, but that's just me. I would rather spend 10 minutes fishing and getting 4 legendaries instead of going through a daily ops. But again, that's just me. I just figured I would show Linda some love, since, she seems already forgotten, unfortunately, and it's just a little passive legendary generator. It's not the worst thing in the entire world. Do your fishing dailies, stash your fish, and then when you have a bunch of fish, cash it in and get a couple of legendaries. There you go. It's not that hard. And as always, I appreciate you motherfuckers for watching this motherfucking video. I will see you out there in the wasteland. Let me know what you think about farming Linda in the comments.